second gear pull. Okay, I have to tighten that up. What is going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. I am on 1 week of MK5 GR Supra with a manual transmission ownership. I currently have 910 miles on this car already because, of course, I picked it up in eastern Kansas and drove it all the way back to around the Denver, Colorado area where I'm at right now. So I started off the ownership with a little bit of a road trip, got in here at around midnight, and I've been driving the car every single day because luckily the weather is very nice right now. Now, over the past week, this car has definitely met my expectations that I had for it and exceeded them in a lot of categories as well. Mainly this manual transmission. This thing is so short and clicky, and it is exactly what I wanted in a car like this. Now, the main thing that I want to talk about today are the plans for the MK5 Supra. A lot of people know me here on the channel, and they're like, oh, you're gonna cut it up and wide body it and bag it and three-piece wheel, this and that. That is not me. That is not my style at all. Actually, when I see a performance sports car like this bagged, slammed to the ground, and they completely change the characteristics of the car, I actually really don't like that at all. Respect all builds. I understand that there is a time and a place for all of that, but I bought this car to mainly be a daily driver and to have a little bit of fun at the same time. So as far as the modifications go, it's not going to be as extreme as something like my Sprinter van or my truck. It is going to remain fairly tame, kind of like my STI build from way back in the day. It's kind of hard to even call that a build. It was just sports car with suspension, wheels, tires. And I like doing my sports cars like this kind of tastefully. So my plans for the car, I guess this is really in no particular order, but one of the first things I definitely want to do is protect this nocturnal black paint on here. I absolutely love the way this car looks. Right from the factory, I waited a little bit extra because I wanted the nocturnal black paint, and I like it so much that I almost don't want to wrap the car. I was kind of considering doing just like a PPF. However, to stay on brand, I am going to be doing a full wrap. That way in the future, when I decide to remove the wrap, I'll pull it off and the paint underneath will be pristine. That is not going to be happening until the end of March, but I will be bringing you guys a video on all of that stuff when it comes. Speaking of videos of the Supra, I'm going to be bringing you guys videos on every single mod that I do to this thing. Even something as simple as like sticking on different hood emblems and stuff like that. I really want to document everything that I'm doing to this car because I like making videos, but also I think it's interesting to put that content out there because I'm in the position right now of watching a lot of different manual transmission Supra content out there, trying to figure out what modifications are going to best suit my needs. So first thing, definitely a wrap, paint protection. Second thing, I will most likely be changing out the suspension, but just a little bit. You'll notice that a lot of the mods that I'm going to be talking about right now are kind of to preserve a lot of what's good about this car already. In the past with my STI, I went with a full coilover setup. However, on this build, it comes with electronic controlled suspension already, and I want to retain a lot of those features. The best way that I found to do that is, of course, just simple lowering springs. I'm not slamming this thing to the ground. I do live in Colorado and our roads are not great, so I want to have a comfortable ride height for daily driving, but also I want it to be a little bit lower, and I want the tire fitment to look a little bit nicer, mainly for when I get back into autocross and of course track days. You will see me doing both of those things with this car at some point, hopefully this this summer. Now that also brings us to wheels and tires. I'm not sure what I want to do, because to find a wheel that is lighter than the premium wheels on this car already, we're talking a lot of money for something like that. I'm really not going for like cool flashy show car here. This is a car that I'm driving every day. It's going to be used on a track, and these stock premium wheels really don't bother me. I believe they weigh about 24 up front, maybe 25 in the rear a piece, which is fairly light. If you get into some like fancy design wheels, that weight goes way up. So I will either find a lightweight wheel to go with, or I will simply keep the wheels that I have on here. I am going to install a stud kit because this car does not have studs on them. It'll just make working on the car easier in the future. And then if I end up keeping the stock wheels, I will probably have to go with some kind of spacer kit. I'm thinking 13 mil in the front and 15 mil in the rear. That way I can keep everything kind of nice and flush. I'm not going to be poking out the side a whole lot, destroying my wrap and my paint, stuff like that. Just simple, clean, and functional mods. Now for some of the components that a lot of people have already been asking me about, they're saying, hey, you're gonna wide body it, you're gonna do some crazy aero on it. No, because that stuff will essentially get ripped off as I'm daily driving it and hitting bumps and potholes and stuff like that. I am going to install a little bit of aero, being a wing on the rear, just to kind of pay homage to kind of like the Mark IV Supra. I was debating between an actual spoiler for a little bit of downforce or like a duckbill type of spoiler. I have actually already picked up the one that caught my eye and I think looks the best, so that will be installed after I get the car paint protected with the wrap. Outside of that, I really don't plan on doing any like lips and rear valance covers. I don't know if I have even seen any that I like, but as of now, that's not going to be on my list. So that kind of covers wheels, tires, suspension, paint protection, just really subtle mods. Now let's talk about performance. I may end up doing a catch can because this is a turbocharged car, and I haven't used one in the past, but I feel like that is a good idea to put on a vehicle like this. And this car specifically is currently making 382 horsepower right from the factory, which is plenty for everything that I want to do with it. But I would like to open this thing up a little bit and make this car perform the way it really should be. So of course, opening it up with an intake, an exhaust, and possibly a pretty conservative tune. Now when it comes to the intake, I did look at a few different companies. I'm pretty sure I know which one I'm gonna go with on there. And then it comes to the exhaust. I'm having a very hard time with picking an exhaust because as of right now, I'm driving in sport mode and cruising at 50 miles an hour. This is completely quiet enough to be a daily driver, of course. If I put it into normal mode, now it gets even quieter. So what I would like to do is make it sound just a little bit better, open it up with something a little bit more high flowing, probably a catback exhaust. I do not plan on changing the downpipe. And whatever exhaust I do go with, I would like to keep the factory valve. That way when I do pop it into sport mode and maybe downshift, you still get some good noise, but I would like it to be just a little bit louder. I just don't know what I want to go with. It's hard to make a decision on an exhaust just based off of videos, so I think I'm going to find one that I think sounds best in video, but then also has a factory valve and also is lightweight. I'm really going to try to keep the weight down on this car because, of course, the lighter it is and the more power it makes, the more fun it is going to be to drive. And then when it comes to tuning this car, there are a lot of different options from small manufacturers, larger manufacturers who specialize in Toyota stuff, or in this case BMW stuff. Again, it's going to be pretty conservative, but with an exhaust intake tune, got the ride height situated a little bit of my own styling with a wrap, tiny bit of aero on the rear. I think that's where I'm going to end up leaving this build. Now, as you guys know, when I get into projects like this, I often go a little bit overboard and just kind of do a little bit of everything. I'm really not going to cut corners with this build, so it's probably going to end up being fairly expensive, which I'm not really stoked on. But because I am going to be reserved and keep the functionality of the car while increasing the performance just a little bit, I think I can do everything that I want to do within a reasonable budget. Now, for any of you out there who live in the Denver metro area, maybe you know of a performance shop who works on Mark 5 Supras. I would love to hear whatever you guys have to offer. Most of these mods are going to be pretty simple. I'll be able to kind of do them myself and bring you guys content on each individual mod that I do. Having a lift would definitely be handy. Luckily, some of my friends from the overlanding world do have lifts, so there's a good chance I'm going to be working on this Supra at like an overland truck shop. But I'm stoked. Absolutely loving this car. Hopefully you guys are excited for what's to come, and if you have any experience with some of those parts or manufacturers that I mentioned, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, some more modifications that I'm not thinking of, or something that I should definitely do to the Supra. Let me know what you guys think would fit well in the daily driver / weekend track autocross car. It's kind of hard to blur those lines, but that is what the plans are for the new Supra build. So that is all that I had for today. If you guys are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. As always, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.